ladies and gentlemen. I think a lot of you guys are new here to my YouTube, and just in general, you found me online. And a lot of you don't know my story, who I am, what have I done, how have I got to where I am, and what is it that I do. So what you guys are about to watch is a podcast that I've recently done where I shared my story. The reason why I'm uploading this one, there's quite a few podcasts that I have done in the past, but this one in particular, I feel like I share a lot more about my journey and my story than any other podcast. Most other ones are just about OnlyFans management and so on and so on. But this one, I really do talk about my upbringing, where do I come from, the struggles that I've faced actually getting to where I am right now, and how I've been able to build my fortune to the stage where I'm at now. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you want to learn more about me and my journey, and hopefully some of you guys can relate and learn from me, from this story. We cover so many different wide variety of topics, so I hope you guys enjoy this video. I'm going to roll the rest of the podcast now.
Mr. Hussle, let's get into a very good session, man. I've been looking forward to this for a fucking long time. Since I first watched that episode of Matt, as I mentioned, I was like, I need to talk to this fucker. There's so many things but two things. One, there's so many things I need to ask you. And secondly, your message needs to be heard as well. There's so much good work that you've done. So I'm excited to get into it, man.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. What an intro. Thank you for having me, brother. Pleasure.
I appreciate it, man. So you really have started from a tough background, man. Grew up in Latvia, if I'm correct, and it was not like easy at all, like real humble beginnings, to literally growing like a 7-figure business, like actually making it, not just like talking loads of shit. You know, how was that kind of experience for you, and like how the fuck does that come about?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've said this in so many different podcasts, and just when I speak to people, I think being born not into wealth, not into money, or even middle class, that is, by the way. For, like, to me, wealth and money is like middle class, right? So if you're just born into like a rough area and maybe your family doesn't have a lot of money, you're in that stage where like majority of people are, where you can barely pay bills, etc., etc. I know it's going to sound crazy and a bit outlandish, but I think it's one of the biggest superpowers that you could ever get in life, period. Because it's like the best motivation, right? Not only is it the best motivation, because I mean, nobody, like, because you're there in that situation right now, you know how it feels to not being able to buy that thing or go there and do this and afford that and etc. You know how that feels. So when you get older, you're like, okay, well, I don't want to fucking go through this again, let alone, my children go through it. So I want to do something to avoid that in the future. And that's how I looked at it. But obviously when I was a kid, right, up until the age of like 14, 15, I never looked at my circumstances as like, oh, I'm poor. Like, I have it so tough. Like, you're a kid, innit? So especially in Latvia as well, where I'm from, everybody was like me. Like, Latvia is a fairly poor country. Riga, the capital, is quite nice. The same as any European like capital. You go to, it's nice. But then you drive like 10, 15 minutes outside the capital, and it's just like farms and fields and little villages, and that's where I grew up. But no, I think, yeah, the fact that probably majority of people watching this, maybe people that are watching your podcast now are, entrepreneurs and they're making decent money, but maybe when they were first starting out, maybe their upbringing wasn't the greatest. I think it's one of the biggest fucking superpowers. It's the greatest motivation tool. And then the second thing, and Tate talks about this all the time, one of the best fucking parts about making money is the fact that you can look back and be like, do you remember we couldn't do this shit? Do you remember like
sitting in McDonald's, man?
Yeah, man. Like, I think that's just the best part. And again, you physically cannot do that if you're born into even just middle class or upper class. But again, there's no right or wrongs. It's just, for me, I always like to look at, kind of positives from everything. And so me being born into kind of the situation that I was, I'm pretty grateful for it, very fucking grateful for it. Because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing, right? And yeah, again, kind of the older that I get, the more I look back at kind of my mum and my dad, the fact that they didn't have a lot, but they still gave me everything, huge. There's, I remember seeing this quote, this is probably like 5 years ago. There was like this little picture going around on, I think it was Instagram or Facebook or something. And it was like a picture, it was like a drawing, like a little drawing picture. And there was a kid in the middle and mum and dad like to the side, and the kid was like holding their hands and they're walking, right? And the picture was something like where the dad had like out of his jacket or his jumper, he had like something missing, and then the mum had something missing, but the kid had it all like sewed together, and the kid had like the perfect clothes, right? That's pretty much what my life was like. I know that's like a silly little analogy, but yeah, my mum and my dad, they didn't have a lot, but they still gave me everything that they had.
Man, that's amazing, man, because it shows you kind of the way you want to live your life too. And it's all small nuances as a kid. I feel like that, you never realize it. Like you didn't realize that you didn't have much. And even for other people, I don't think many people are born into much wealth. And it's funny when you mentioned about that kind of hunger, because that's why we kind of resonate quite well. Of course, you had a lot more difficult circumstances, but I feel like that kind of hungry, ambitious individuals come from people who didn't have it. And there was a study done. It was actually from like a fund manager at a VC or like some venture capitalist firm or hedge fund, sorry. And she was saying that the amount of money that's invested in these early stage founders, the guys that came out like Stanford, Harvard, who were like daddy's money, whatever, majority of them ended up just working for their dad's firm afterwards. So startup failed and then back to daddy's fund. But the people who invested in people who came out of the lower class colleges or no colleges in the US, a lot of those funds went on to do better. And the people, even if they didn't turn out to be like $1 billion exits, the guys were just more committed to the process and they just fucking loved it and really went down. And I think that like hunger is just like what you really need. And just in all aspects of life, forget about business, but just I don't think that you get it when it gets handed to you. And it's kind of like people who win the lotto, man. People who win the lotto just fucking burn the cash, But if you work your way up to getting your first bit of cash, it's incredibly powerful what you can do with your life then.
Completely agree, man. It's like nobody appreciates anything they get for free, right? Mm-hmm. It's like if somebody gave you a Rolex for free, of course you'd take it. Yeah, fuck yeah, it's a Rolex, right? But like if you were to ding it, if you were like, walking and you ding it on the door or like you scratch it or you drop it, you'd be a bit like, oh fuck, but oh well, I don't really care. But if you worked really fucking hard, bro, and you saved that money and you finally bought that Rolex that you always wanted, you'll cherish that little puppy because it's worth a lot. It might be monetary, it might be the same value, but to you, that's worth a lot more. Yeah, it's the same thing as that.
So it's funny as well, even with clients, man, people that are willing to pay you will appreciate the work you do, and people who don't pay you don't really appreciate the advice and stuff like that, so it becomes very valuable. When you ended up in the UK and you were around the people you were around and the network you had, did you feel like you even wanted to have the drive to go and start something because your social circle and your network and your environment predetermines a lot of what people do with their life?
Yeah, great question, bro. This is really, really interesting because I was watching, I think it was Alex Hormozi. Yeah, you know Alex Hormozi? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was actually watching his podcast yesterday, and somebody asked him the question, which was like, so have you always been entrepreneurial since a kid? And his answer was no. I was like, oh, that's strange. And then it got me thinking, like, no, neither was I. Like, I didn't even know what the fucking word entrepreneur meant until, like, apparently I was one, right? Like, look, sure, I was like trying to make money in school here and there. I remember this one thing, but again, like, I didn't like. It wasn't because of business. It wasn't because of like whatever. It was because I physically needed fucking money, which I guess is entrepreneurial, but. Yeah, I remember like my first like early hustle like in school. Do you ever remember Yu-Gi-Oh cards? It was like Pokemon, but Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah,
you remember that shit? So for anybody who doesn't, it's like Pokemon basically, right? Like Pokemon cards. So anyway, I was massively into these like Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and there was like this massive craze going around in our school. And I was really good at drawing. Like I like drawing. Literally, all I would do is I would draw the cards. On an A4 piece of paper with a pen, and I would just sell them. I'd just sell A4 piece of paper to these kids. Like that was it. And I would make like, maybe now the equivalent of like $1 a day or some shit, right? And obviously back then, this was probably like, I don't know, 16, 17 years ago. Back then I'd go to the shop and with $1, you could get like a bunch of sweets and drinks and crisps and stuff, right? So technically I've been always trying to like make money from a young age, but it wasn't like from the entrepreneurial stage. Where I took it serious, and you asked me about kind of my environment and the people that I hung around with when I moved to the UK. When I moved to the UK, bro, and I think you heard this in Matt's podcast, I was living in a council estate, right? For anybody who's listening, who's not from the UK, perhaps, it's basically like the projects or where the government housing, where the government supports the local area, because like, you know, people that live there perhaps can't afford the bills, they're on low paying jobs, etc. Yeah, so when I moved to the UK, I was staying in a place like that with my mum and my stepdad. And as you can imagine, you know, and this is another thing that I've realized, like the older I get and the more money I make, I never understood about like going to gyms that are like $200 a month, or going to a restaurant where it's like $1,000 a month, or all these things that are like you can do the same thing but for way less. I never understood it when I was younger. And it's just the main, like, yes, other than the service aside, obviously the service in these places is a lot nicer, but it's mainly the people that go there is completely different caliber. And it's the same with the community that I used to live in, right? Because I lived in a council estate. Most people there are deprived of money, like their families. They don't have a lot of money. So there was just a lot of like drugs around, crime, like small petty things, nothing crazy what like happening in London, like stabbings and stuff. But it was just a fucking horrible place to live. So in terms of my environment, again, it's kind of like, remember how we started the podcast by saying, when you're born not into money, it kind of motivates you to know, okay, this is what it's like, and I don't want to be like this when I'm older, or my kids. Well, like my surroundings and my environment was the same, because I didn't really like it. I didn't enjoy it. And I was getting sucked into it because there's nothing else to do. Like when you're living in a place like that, like all of your friends do it, so might as well. I just knew that.
You're either taking drugs or
Yeah,
selling drugs at that point, man.
exactly, right. So I just knew that that doesn't really end well. It doesn't take a fucking scientist to figure that out. So I was like, all right, man, you know, I'm not here for it. So kind of because of my environment, but then also, unfortunately, this is a sad part of the story. But I mean, look, as a man, you come to realize that, you know, things happen, and you can't control it. You can only control how you react to it. But unfortunately, my dad passed away when I was 18. And I was still living in that council estate at that point. I just had dropped out of college as well. So I dropped out of college, had no degree, no job. I was doing drugs and shit. And then my father passed away. And at that point, I was like, all right, well, I need to like do something. For context for everybody as well, I'm the only sibling. I don't have brothers, sisters. I just have me and my mum, right? And my mum, even back then, she could barely afford to pay rent. So as a man, you have to fucking step up, right? And this as well, it's like everything happens for a reason in life, right? Because maybe what if my father hadn't have passed away? Maybe I would have been a useless fucking druggie that just sits at home, smokes weed all day, and plays Xbox, right? And if you are listening and you smoke weed and you play Xbox all day, pattern up, man. What the fuck are you doing? There's no good that comes in it, man. I in my college days, and I haven't said this ever before online, but in college, because I legally had to go to college for 1 year. In college, I was just literally smoking weed every single day, bro, for literally an entire year, like multiple times as well, like 24/7. And I was that person going around saying like, oh, you can't get addicted to it. It's not addicting, this and that. Bro, that's a myth. That's a myth. Yeah, that's literally a myth. And there's nothing good that can come out of it, man. And funny enough, like I've literally today, today is Monday that we're recording this. Literally today, I'm gonna go for at least 30 days, but maybe even a little bit longer. No alcohol, no even cigars, no smoking cigarettes, nothing for the next 30 days. Just because you need to do that. I mean, you need to clear your fucking brain, right? I'm not one of these massive people who like advocates to like wake up, have a cold plunge and cross your legs and meditate for 2 hours. If you want to do that, be my guest. That's fine, right? But it's like you need to have a good balance. Like for me, I've made way more fucking money since I stopped meditating, but it's probably a coincidence. I don't know. But yeah, so for now, the next 30 days, it gets like the kind of the monk mode, what E-Man says for me.
100%, man. And I've gone 8 months now at this stage without alcohol, and I didn't do it because I had a fucking problem. I didn't do it for whatever reason. I did it because I'm an Irish dude who goes out and just gets slaughtered. Like those Irish people, like UK people, are the exact same. So if I wanted to get to places like you've got to in your agency, I know that I can't be doing stupid shit like that, and other people can't be doing stuff like that. So I have to remove it. And being in Asia is a much helps you a lot because of the fact that it's 30 degrees. There's like a beach, there's like a fucking jungle next door. Like you can always be in the right place. So you get that. you get that drive, I guess, which becomes very powerful. But one thing I want to ask you was, I know you've mentioned Tate quite a lot, even you mentioned him earlier as well.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's played a huge influential role in how hard you've pushed. How do you think he's played a factor?
Yeah, man. Free Tate.
100%, man.
It's actually pretty upsetting what's happening. It's just so fucking crazy. So yeah, in terms of Tate, funny enough, a friend of mine, Dan Reeves, shout out to Dan if you're watching this. He's a really good friend of mine. I met Dan probably 6 years ago now in Marbella. Maybe like 5 years ago. So in Marbella, and he was watching this guy online, but this is literally 5 years ago, right? Like 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. So he's watching this guy because we shared like an Airbnb together, me and Dan. Because there was like 20 of us, but we had like different places all around Marbella. It was crazy actually. This event in my life is actually what changed everything for me, because I'll tell you about Tate in just a second. But up until this trip to Marbella, I had never like really traveled anywhere before, period, like ever. The only flight that I took was from Latvia to UK, and that wasn't like a holiday. I fucking moved there to live there. So by this point, I was running my agency and I was making decent money. I was doing about 8,000 a month, I believe. Back then, obviously, that was, to me, that's all I needed. Anyway, I fly to Marbella and I meet all these guys for the first time. You know Jay Wells as well? Maybe you heard of him. Yeah, Adam Power. You know Adam Power. You definitely know him.
Yeah. He's from the same part of Ireland as me.
Yeah, crazy, man. Crazy.
So we've been trying to line up a podcast for fucking ages, and I was going to go to Dubai actually, but I had a podcast cancelled, so I couldn't. But it's in the works. It's in the works. We'll continue.
Cool. But I'm going gym with him probably later today or tomorrow. So
no way. He's literally going like 10 miles from my house, basically.
This is the craziest part. He lives 3 buildings next to me over here.
What the fuck,
yeah, it's crazy. By coincidence as well.
University.
Yeah. So anyway, without getting too sidetracked, right? So I'm going to Marbella and I'm chilling with Dan, right? And he's watching this guy, like we're having breakfast or whatever, and he's watching this guy, and this guy just fucking, he's bald guy, massive like fucking tattoos and shit, and he's got like a Ferrari and shit, and he's standing in front of his Aston Martins and all this stuff, and he's just saying how broke I am and how much of a pussy I am. And Dan's just like listening and he's just like nodding. I'm like, who's this dickhead? Who's this arrogant asshole talking like? And he had obviously like a cigar in his mouth, and he had like some girls in a hot tub in the background. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And like, he was pissing me off, man. He was pissing me off. Like, he was honestly making me like angry. And I think this is obviously why Tate, is so fucking incredible, because making somebody like actually fucking angry and making him feel something is what's going to motivate him to actually take action and do something, right? And that's why he does it. 2 reasons. One is marketing purposes, because if he goes on a video and he's sitting in a Bugatti calling you brokey, that's going to make him go viral. But then also, like, it genuinely does like piss me off, but like in a good way, right? So this was honestly like 4-ish years ago. This was way before like he blew up. And he was doing his whole Tate Confidential like vlogs. Yeah, man, he was on vlog like, I don't know, 50 or 47, something like that is when I first started watching him, I believe. And he's up to like 200 now or something like that. That's how I got introduced to Tate. So it was through Dan. We exchanged a few DMs, like me and Tate. Like, it's nothing crazy. Like, I tagged him in a story. He replied like this and shit. It probably wasn't even him, to be honest. But I really hope that I get to meet him one day. And it's crazy. Like, I'm not going to say who it was because it's definitely confidential, but like somebody I met here, I literally went to their villa. They are the part owners of the casino with him. It's a small fucking world. Like, they have all this gloves and shit there. They obviously have like, they've been to his mansion in Romania. They fly private jets with him. And that's like one of his literally business partners. I'm just hanging around with them here. Just by coincidence, like it was a connection of a connection that introduced me. He was like, yo, do you want to come around? Cool. I went around, smoked some cigars. So it's a very small world. But to go back to your original question, has Tate kind of played a big part in my journey? Massively, bro. And I was saying this to Harry as well. And I think this is why he blew the fuck up in the Western side of the world, because it sounds so crazy what he says. You know, the whole kind of relationship between a woman and a man, how it should work. Put it this way, right? Like, I was born in Latvia, which is a very, very Eastern Europe. It's literally next to Russia. It's pretty much Russia. And in Eastern Europe, everything that Tate says, like, it's just how we are. That's just how we're born. Like, when we say, like, the man is normally the breadwinner and he's in charge of the house, what he says goes, and the woman is there to build a beautiful family, look after the family, build, clean the house, etc., etc. It's not like it doesn't, like, nobody in Latvia would think that's sexist or, oh my god, like, I don't know, it's crazy, right? And that's also why I resonated with Tate so much. One, he would piss me off / motivate me, but then two, everything he was saying, I was like, yeah, finally somebody's saying it, right?
He speaks to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for real.
Irrespective of background, man, as well, which was so. It's so like motivating, and I hate that we're even word motivating, but it's kind of like it made me want to take action no matter what it was, and it was the fact that you could just be doing so much more, and it's like undoubtable that you could do more. It's like whether what you're doing, which is fucking incredible, and how far you've grown your business, but it's like you still have that drive. We were talking about that earlier, that there's something else, and it's like whether you're fit. Let's say you are super successful, but you're fat as fuck. It's like, well, go get that fixed. And there was just so many different elements over the last, for me, it's been probably just over a year, that was like, fuck, like, this dude's actually speaking to you directly, and he can give you that direction. Man, I cannot believe it's been like 4 years since you first were introduced to him, which is incredible, you know?
Do you know what else is really interesting? And again, I have never said this to anybody else, but as I mentioned earlier, I don't have any siblings, right? So I don't have like an older brother. I don't have my father. So I've never really had like a man in my life that I could like look up to. I've never had like an idol. I've never had like some guy that I fucking look up to. Like, sure, there's lots of people that motivate me, inspire me, like Elon Musk, for example. What he's achieving is fucking insane, and how intelligent the guy is. But I wouldn't say like I want to be like Elon Musk. Like, that's just not my goal. However, with Tate, like, even just watching his videos and shit, no, it's just really interesting. Like, he's like, I'm sure you've watched his podcast, right? Where like Fresh and Fit podcast, where there's like 7 different girls, and it's him, just like there's the only guy, and obviously the 2 hosts, Fresh and Fit. But the way he's able to maneuver conversations with 7 different fucking girls and disagree with them, but then at the same time they agree with him at the end of the conversation, it's just fucking incredible. The guy is so smart, and it's just how he's able to read the room and read how people react to what he says. Yeah, so for me, I look at things like that, and I think it's funny, like, obviously so many people nowadays are like, oh, but he's a misogynist and he's sexist and this and that. They don't even know what the fuck word misogynist means. Like, they can't even give an example, right? And it's just what media portrays.
100%, man. I think the biggest thing there is the fact that he's just a high EQ, like emotional intelligence, and it goes beyond the business side of things. So therefore, like, that's the stuff you're trying to emulate. It's a stoicism element, that he's relaxed, controlled, doesn't matter what the environment is, and the way, like, the fluency in how he speaks. That's what's admirable, and that's what you want to use in your own lifestyle. So people can come and go and take what they want, whatever. But it's undoubtable those elements that are like, that's what we want, you know. So, you know, I can only hope that over the next fucking couple of months he gets the fuck out, and then we can move on to doing what he's always doing. He'd be recording some good podcasts, man. I tell you that much, when he gets out. That's for sure.
That's for sure.
You know,
I agree.
I want to get into some of the early days in your agency. So, for context, you built the OnlyFans agency, and it came about from you traveling. How the fuck did that come about? Of course, you're going all across Europe. Like, what's the vibe?
Yeah. So I started my marketing agency when I was 18. Unfortunately, my pops passed away. Just because it wasn't because I was like passionate about marketing or Facebook ads or none of that bullshit. I just wanted to make money, so I went online, and it was kind of a natural thing as well. So in college, remember how I done 1 year in college? I done media in college. The reason why I done media in college is because that's the only thing that I somewhat enjoyed in school. Like, because in school, photography and videography, no, it's just photography, I think. I just found it fun because you got to take a camera and you go and fuck off for a bit and like take some photos. That was my lessons. Like, I enjoyed that. Everything else, like sitting in school doing maths and English and shit, was just so boring. So I done 1 year of media in college. It was all right, but I dropped out after 1 year because I didn't want to go to uni. Then when I dropped out, and unfortunately my pops passed away, I was like, okay, what the fuck can I do? I have no degrees, I have nothing, you know, etc., etc. I did have a camera still, however, from college because I had to get one. So I was at my barbershop, the one I'd always go to in my old village. And you know, we we're just talking. You know, he's asking me what I'm up to these days, blah blah. And I'm like, yeah, I'm getting into like I'm learning. By the way, I think I knew about Iman Gatti at this point, but I never really like done SMA or anything like that at this point. But I was learning about it, right? And I was talking to him that like I'm learning about how to run like a marketing agency. And he was like, oh, really? I'm like, yeah. He said, what kind of marketing? I was like, well, I'm just going to create like videos and photos and stuff. And he was like, cool. Do you want to do one for us? I was like, yeah, sure. So my first ever client was my barbershop. I think he paid me like £125 or something, but I would have done it for free if I remember correctly. And it was just literally like a little advert for a local barbershop, and it was pretty sick, to be honest. I loved it, and that's how I got into like, I was thinking, okay, so I've just done something that I actually enjoy. I would have done for free, and I got paid. I could get used to this. So then that's how I kind of got into it. And I was doing content creation, photography, kind of your typical weddings and car dealerships and just any local businesses. I used to film nightclubs. That was so fucking fun. That was so much fun. Like, yeah, it was the weirdest thing, but like it was so funny because I would go there with my friend. I didn't need to, but I told him that, oh, my friend is like my assistant, my camera assistant. My friend was just there for a free night. It was the funniest thing. We would both go there. He would get free drinks because like I'd get like this little pass. He would get free drinks and get fucked up, and he would go chat to all the girls, and then I'd just be recording it like a little after movie. It was so funny. But I mean, yeah, so Monday to Friday, I would record like car dealerships and local businesses. And then Friday night, Saturday, and sometimes Sunday, I'd record nightclubs. And that's how everything started, right? So I started with content creation. And by the way, and everybody watching this, maybe if you're a young guy or a girl and you want to start making money, I mean, like, look, that was as simple as I just explained it. I bought a camera. It was like, it wasn't anything special. It was like £300, like $350, right? I learned the basics from YouTube, by the way, about how to edit. It was all from YouTube. And that was it. All I literally done was like go to your local places that you already go to. Maybe like a restaurant. Maybe your mum has a business. Maybe your dad has a business. Maybe they know somebody who has a business. And all of a sudden, just because you got your little camera, record 2 videos, the camera's paid for itself and it's technically free now. And everything after that is pure profit. Sure, you're not going to be making 10K, 50K a month, right? With just creating little videos. But it's a good way to start. Like, it doesn't take a lot of effort. Anyway, besides the point. So that's how I got into it. So I was doing videos, blah, blah. Then these businesses, I would send them the video, but they wouldn't know what to do. Like, they would just upload it to Facebook and it would get like 2 likes. And one of them was from me. So it was just bullshit. It was just bullshit, right? So I was like, all right, well, let me help you. So then I got into like actual management. Like, how do you manage social media? Like, how do you upload it so it reaches more people? What do you say? What kind of hashtags? When do you upload it? How do you share it? How do you do like kind of giveaway so more people share it and tag their friends and shit? So that's where I started learning about it, and that's what I really did enjoy that. I love like the idea of doing something and it reaches a wide spectrum. Like it reaches hundreds of thousands of people. So anyway, done that. Then I really started taking this seriously, and I went all in just the marketing. I started doing Facebook ads because I soon realized that organic marketing, like posting on Facebook, can only get you so far. But like paid ads, like paid forms of advertisement, you can reach literally unlimited amount of people and very targeted. So that's when I started going crazy on like the kind of Ty Lopez online courses, Iman Gatti. Iman Gatti is huge part of my journey. Huge. It's funny. That's another thing about living here. I was going to go meet him like 3 days ago. One of my friends, Zarek, he lives here. he picked up a brand new day date from I think Nikos, the quite chubby guy. Yeah, Nikos, right? I think Nikos. He literally picked up a watch from him, and Eman was there as well. Like they were afterwards. They had like dinner and smoked some cigars. And Eman brought this fucking suitcase, literally not a suitcase, but like a fucking briefcase. He just opens up and he's got all his watches, like fucking RMs and shit. It's crazy. And Zarek invited me to go, but there's just the thing about here is there's always shit going on 24/7, and I need to be able to say no. That's the one time that I said no. I was like, fuck. But sorry, I'm sure I'll meet him. But anyway, so that's where I started learning from Iman Gatsi, Tai Lopez, etc. And it was going great. It was honestly going pretty good. I made more money than I ever had at that point. I was making about 15,000-20,000 pounds a month. Expenses was probably about 4,000, 5,000 in staff.
Okay.
And I kind of maintained that for about a year. Kind of maintained that for a year. Main problem that I found was I never really cracked. Like I know so many people, like friends of mine, who are honestly geniuses at like Facebook ads and Google ads and etc. I'm good at it. Like I know how to manage it and I know how to set it up. I know how to scale it, how to split test. I understand it, but I never really cracked it. I don't know what it is. I'm just maybe I'm just not so into it. Like that's one thing that I definitely didn't enjoy as the whole business. The one thing that I did not enjoy was the actual Facebook ads, like management, like the actual managing it every single day. Because like you'd wake up with that sense of like anxiety that maybe your ads account has been deleted or banned or blocked, and then you lose your client, which would happen all the time. That's a very common thing. So anyway, I've done that for a bit, and like I said, at this point, I was doing about 20,000 a month, pounds, and that's when I retired my mum, by the way, in 3 years ago now. I want to say, I think 2021. No, 2 years ago. Yeah, like
just from the agency.
That original agency. And I was doing coaching on the side as well. So I was coaching people on kind of how to start SMA. And just for context as well, for everybody maybe wondering, I never like woke up and I was like, right, I want to start coaching people now. For me, I started a Facebook group just because I wanted to network with people who are into this as well. Because like I said, when I grew up in that council estate. So all my friends, all they wanted to do is sell or do drugs, right? So none of my friends were into business. So I was like, all right, well, I don't like Instagram. You can't really create like a public Instagram group. Groups are like private on Instagram. So I was like, whatever. Twitter, I didn't use. Facebook, like I have Facebook, I don't really use it, but fuck it. I know how Facebook groups work. And so I created a Facebook group, literally just with the idea of hopefully I can start to build my own little community and I can just talk to people. Maybe I can help somebody, they can help me, and we can just all get better. Just become like a bunch of fucking little nerds, right? That's me. Because I was such a little nerd. And before you know it, that group grew from like 0 to 100 to 200 to 500 in a matter of days. Then it went to 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 in a matter of like 2-3 months. It's just fucking crazy. How did I do it? Honestly, fucking luck. I just think I was there at the right place at the right time. My Facebook group is literally called like SMMA, Social Media Marketing Agencies. So it's got all the keywords, and I'm pretty sure how Facebook works is the keywords. So if somebody searches SMMA, my group will typically come at the top, and Social Media Marketing Agency, my group. It's not, again, I didn't do it because like I knew this was going to work. I just fucking, that's what the group's about. So I just called it that. And I think the reason why I got lucky is because I was just there at the right time. There's nobody else creating a Facebook group at the time. So because I was the face of it and said created by Markuss Hussle, obviously everybody that joined would message me and ask me for like advice and shit. And at first, when there's 100 people, 200 people, 300 people, I'd still help them. But after like 500 members, it got out of hand. I get like 50 messages a day and I just couldn't fucking reply to all of them. So that's when there's one guy, Danielle. I remember him. I'll never forget this kid. He messaged me. He's from Manchester. Obviously, I was living in the UK at this point. He messaged me. He was like, "Bro, I know you're super busy. How much for your coaching?" And I was like, "What do you mean? I don't. It's free." And he's like, "No. Like, I know you're busy. How much to actually coach me, like on a one-on-one basis?"
Man.
And I was like, I don't know, £250. I don't know. So that's how we started, man. That's how we started, and that's what like made me go, holy fuck! So people are gonna pay me to just talk to them, like what? That's fucking mind blowing. And and to me, I was like, so you're telling me you're gonna pay me, and to me at least, the effort is like this much because all I got to do is just open my mouth and say something, right? But obviously, what they're paying for, and I only realized this like later on, is what's going on here. This is the valuable stuff that you can't like just Google, right? Like what I've been through and then my experiences, like that's just what I know, right? And that's how I'm able to tell people. But to answer your question, fucking hell, how do I get into OnlyFans?
No, man, I fucking love this, man. I love this, man. Take your time
Yeah.
explaining this shit because this is sick. This is like fucking. Sorry to interrupt you, but you did not get lucky at any instance. Like you say, it's luck, but it's not, man. Like everything there was intentional. Like as in it took off for the right reasons because you were in the right place at the right time. You created the product that people needed. You created the platform that people needed. You were at the perfect era, 2018, 2019, 2020. And that's what worked. And you deserved everything that happened from it. So continue from there, man.
Thank you. I think it's funny, right? I always say this. The harder I work, the luckier I get. What a coincidence, right? It's quite crazy. You put yourself in as many places and as many times, and all of a sudden, sometimes you get lucky. Right. So yeah. So I was running the Facebook ads. It was going okay. Then I started the coaching because fucking hell, like free money. Why not? With the coaching, just fucking took off. And obviously, I've been through Eman's coaching at the time, so I understood how it works and what kind of questions people ask. So I was like, fuck it, let me just try it. And yeah, it just worked really, really well. The coaching started doing like 10, 15, 20K a month. Within like the first month, like my agency went like this, like it was fucking very slow. Like it was literally like £400 a month, 500, 600, 600, 500, 500, maybe 1,000, right? The coaching literally went from like 0 to like 10K in like my first month. It was fucking crazy. So to me, and like by that point, I had already been doing about 20K, but still, it was fucking insane to me. So yeah, and with the coaching, by the way, so my agency kind of paid more than my lifestyle. At that point as well, I was still being very frugal. I didn't have a nice car, nice watch, nice clothes.
No McLaren, no Ferrari.
No. I was living in a house share as well. You know what house share is, right? Maybe no. Oh, okay. Because it's just like maybe in England. It's so it's like when there's like a big house and with like 6 bedrooms and like everybody is random people living in each bedroom that you just rent the room, right? Yeah. So I lived like that, bro. Like, and bear in mind, I was making fucking bank. I was living like that. And the reason why I was living like that, by the way, for everybody wondering, is because I honestly, like, I genuinely felt so fucking guilty to spend any money other than being able to like spend it on my mum and like look after my mum, like genuinely, bro. And I think this is another thing that I kind of understand, but I don't. I'll be honest, I don't. When people say to me like, wow, that's really like crazy that you was in this mindset from a young age and da-da-da. Like, because to me that was just like, what else? Like when I say that I wouldn't buy this watch and I wouldn't buy this car and I wouldn't treat myself because I needed to look after my mom first. Like to me, again, maybe it's just the Eastern side of the world, like Eastern Europe, because they're like families, everything. It's interesting. We're having this conversation yesterday with one of my friends. Like somebody, it wasn't him, but somebody else that we know. Like their parents disowned him, and like that just wouldn't happen in an Eastern European country. Like you could shoot somebody and the parents would know that you shot somebody, but they'd still back you. Anyway, so for me, it's always like I needed to look after my mum, right? And again, for context, everybody listening, at the time she was still living in like a shitty little like mid-terrace council estate house. She had 3 jobs. She was a cleaner, 3 different places. It was like 2 warehouses and 1 office. She would cycle. She would cycle from work to back. She didn't have like a car or anything. And if it's raining, if it's windy, she would have to do it. She wouldn't make any excuses. She's one of the most hardest working women like I've ever met. And because of that, that's what really motivated me to be like, right, I need to make a fuck ton of money to be able to just take my mum out of that whole situation, right? And I saved up a lot of money. I retired my mother on Christmas, I think it was 2021. I was actually talking to her about it yesterday because it was Mother's Day yesterday. We're just kind of reminiscing about it. And yeah, so she doesn't have to do anything, right? All she does now is buy plants. It's quite funny. She's like super into like plants and flowers and stuff. So her Instagram is just full of like plants and stuff. It's quite funny. That's where my money goes now. So after I retired her, this is an interesting topic as well. After I retired her, you'd think that I'd be very happy, right? Of course, in the moment, I was very happy. The next day I woke up like, oh my God, it's probably one of the worst days of my life. Because like, I don't know what to do. Like what? All right, I've done it, bro. That was it. Like you hear a lot of stories of like these sports person, right? Who like worked really, really hard. They finally win that championship or they get the medal. They get the first place. And, you know, they've been working their fucking life towards this and they finally achieved that thing that they've been idolizing for so fucking long. And bro, I wanted to retire my mum for like 5 years. Like 5 years I've been working every single day. And on my mother's life, if anybody who like knows me back then, every single day I would say, I can't wait to retire my mum. I'm going to retire my mum. Every day I would say it out loud. Every day, bro, without a fail, right? And I've always been into visualization, manifestation. But what I've come to realize there needs to be a balance, bro. When I was younger, it was a bit too much because I was brand new to it. And, you know, I was really, really like every day I'd spend like fucking 2 hours, like doing this whole morning routine, like writing down exactly how I would feel when I'm sitting in my Lamborghini Urus and all this shit. Bro, just fucking do work, man. Just do work. Like,
man, I was the exact same. I was the
Yeah.
fucking exact. When I was younger, man, I'd be like thinking about the end point. Whereas now it's just like it's just raw process, you know. I
That's
don't give a
it.
shit about the end point. I know what the end point is, but I don't like
Yeah.
visualize it. You know what I mean? You have to shut the fuck up and do the work at some point.
That's it, right? You have the goal, but like fucking work towards it. It's not gonna come by itself. So yeah, I retired my mum, and the next day, bro, is weird. It's very, very weird. Because it was Christmas, by the way. I retired her on Christmas in Latvia. I think the UK is 25th, right? Christmas.
Yeah.
25th. Bro, I don't celebrate anything. Like, I literally don't care about anything. I'm not joking. I honestly, I don't, bro. So anyway, Christmas in the UK is on the 25th, but in Latvia it's 24th. So it's the day before. So the 24th, I retired my mum because I went to a restaurant and I gave her like this handwritten note and stuff. The 25th, like the next day was Christmas in the UK and we celebrating it here in the UK. And I just remember being like there with my family and like I was just staring into the void because I was like, I don't know what the fuck I want anymore. I really didn't, bro. And I've really struggled, bro, for real. Like I actually really, really struggled. It's funny, like even when I was younger, I was like, whenever I'd hear like a celebrity or like somebody who's like rich and famous and they're struggling with like not depression, but you know, like they don't feel well and all this stuff, I'd always think I was that guy thinking like, yeah, it must be so tough for you with all this money. What kind of problems do you have, bro? Like not having a purpose and not knowing what the fuck you actually want to do is very scary. It's like, because if you don't have that, then you're like, well, why am I even here spinning around this fucking rock in the middle of like the universe, right? So everybody needs to have a purpose. And it doesn't have to be nothing crazy, but you need to at least know why you're doing it. Like what are you doing it for, right? And I contemplated it for about, honestly, this was like a 4-month period of my life where I was like kind of just spending money here and there, just not really thinking about shit. And I basically realized, okay, I had 2 options. I could either move into like my dream penthouse that I've always wanted in that town, or I could start traveling. I chose traveling, right? Because I was thinking the penthouse, I'll do the traveling and then I'll come back and do the penthouse. And it's exactly what I done. Rather than the other way around. Because if I was to get the penthouse now, I can't really travel because then if I'm traveling and this penthouse is like £6,000 a month, if I'm away for a month, I've just wasted £6,000. Like I feel like an idiot. So done it the other way
100%.
around. So I traveled first. And this is now we're going to finally get to answer your question, how we get into OnlyFans. I'm giving like a whole life spiel, right?
Man, it's fucking sick. Keep going.
So when I was traveling, like really traveling, I left everything, sold my car. I moved out of that fucking stupid house share my room. I had no ties in the UK, nothing. I literally packed one suitcase, one backpack, and that was it. I had my laptop, and I'm good to go. And yeah, so that's when I was traveling kind of around Europe, France, Spain, Turkey, Albania, Serbia. Where else did we go? Oh, Italy a few times. Back to Spain, and then I stayed in Tenerife for like 3 months, I believe, 3-4 months. And during that time, and also I went back to Latvia, obviously quite a lot of times. I went back and forth to Latvia.
Cool.
And during kind of that lasted about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. During that time is when I was meeting a lot of, and also during that time as well, I was pretty fucking burnt out of like doing SMA and coaching SMA. It was just the same shit over and over and over and over and over. And yeah, at that point I was traveling and I was obviously meeting and hooking up with a lot of girls, and they were not all of them obviously, but a lot of them were doing OnlyFans because they were also the whole digital nomad. They're just kind of traveling, taking pictures at the beach.
And that was 2020 now, like so early days in this game.
Yeah, and 2020, and this is the interesting thing, right? In 2020 is when like OnlyFans really blew the fuck up. That's when it was like it was. I think it was initially launched in 2017. It was created in 2017, but it didn't really gain traction until about 2020. Yeah, April. So that's when the lockdowns happened. Yeah, because everybody was at home. Everyone's horny. They didn't fucking know what to do. They need to spend money somewhere. So everyone just decided to go on OnlyFans, and it was huge for me because that's when I actually started managing some girls. And the way that happened, by the way, again, it wasn't like I woke up and I was like, right, I'm going to start an OnlyFans management agency. Matter of fact, that wasn't even a thing. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not in any way, shape, or form saying I'm the first one, because I know people who have been doing it longer than me. But OFM, the term OFM, I genuinely have created it. Like, I'm not trying to sound like this egotistical dickhead and like, look at me, I'm the first one. No. I literally have a YouTube video and it's dated. You can't fake that. It's on YouTube. You can see the date. And I literally say the words, I'm going to call this industry OFM. No one's doing it right now. It's kind of like how SMA is called, how Tai Lopez, Tai Lopez branded SMA, right? I literally say, like, I say in a video, like, I'm going to be the one to call it OFM. So if you're watching this video, like in a year's time and everyone's now calling it OFM, just remember I was the first one. It's still on my YouTube. It's like 16 minutes long. And it's got like 35,000 views on it. It's like the most popular video for some reason.
How did you know it was going to be an industry? Like, what were you looking at? Like, how did you know that could have to be a thing?
Fucking great question. No one's ever asked me that, by the way. Let me think. There's a couple of things. So first of all, because I was on the rise and the kind of, I wouldn't say SMA has fallen off. It's just got more saturated. The same as everything. Everything in life obviously gets more saturated, but there's a scale to it. But SMA, I feel like it's so fucking difficult to get into it now. It's not impossible. No way is it. Nothing's impossible, right? But it's just a lot more difficult because you have a lot more competition. You have to be a lot better than the next person, right? Not only that, when you're reaching out to, this is about SMA I'm talking about, right? Not only that, when you're reaching out to these businesses, most of them have been reached out to already. So you're not the first person to reach out to them. You have to stand out and blah, blah, blah. And I think another thing that made me put like a, the nail in a coffin in SMA is all of these crazy, stupid fucking regulations and rules and changes that were coming out to Facebook ads. And it was mainly Apple, actually. It wasn't even Facebook. It was all the pixel tracking. I forgot what it's called now. I think it was like iOS 13 or 14, where they, when you open up a new app and it asks, would you like it to allow it to track outside of app? Yes or no, like allow or do not allow. That fucked up a lot of like targeting, and then it just made it more difficult. And all these different things were coming out. And so I knew that SMA, it works. You can still make money with it, but there's going to be like something else, something next, right? Now, how did I know that OnlyFans or OFM was going to be the next big thing? It's honestly a very good question, because I never like sat there and thought about it. I think another thing that comes to my mind is the fact that it's so similar to SMA, but completely different at the same time, right? So I already had the proof of concept because I'd done it myself, and I'd gone from SMA into OFM. So I knew that it works because I've done it myself. So then I was pretty confident in being like very vocal about it and being like, look, this is the thing, right? And I think also as well, which I think is so like annoying, and I think it's so toxic, this whole thing that I've created. And like the older as a man gets, the more you realize that none of this matters at all. But when you're young and you're your early 20s and you're a guy, you naturally want to be around a lot of hot women. You want to be that guy. You want to be known as like, oh yeah, that's the guy that manages a bunch of OnlyFans girls.
You're the fucking kingpin.
Do you know what I mean? And I think it's just like the perfect business model. Like, not only can you have the location, the time freedom, you're making a fuck ton of cash, and you're working with very attractive models. It kind of beats e-com drop shipping and all these different nicks, right? So it was kind of like the perfect storm, yeah. And also, obviously, by this point, you know, OnlyFans has blown the fuck up, and it's like everybody knew what OnlyFans was at that point. Whereas like 2020, people were just like hearing the word, but they didn't know what actually is an OnlyFans, you know?
And no one knew the potential that was behind it, because like literally just getting on a platform, sharing some photos could be as scalable as what it is and what it became.
Mm-hmm.
And when you were first meeting girls, I heard you mention before that like they were doing like 1,000 a month or like 2,000 a month, whatever. What was like the value proposition you were giving to them? Because for them, like, it's trust, right? They're looking at you, this dude who obviously had a background, but they don't know what SMA is. They don't even know what social fucking media is. They don't know how to put up photos, as do a lot of people, male and female. So how did you like get that message across, being like, look, you can honestly trust me to bring you from 1,000 a month to 10,000 a month?
Mm-hmm. Sure. So my first client was like, so this is a question I get all the time as well. Do you have sex with your clients? Like, no, period. Like, no. It's the same as any other business. Like, you wouldn't fuck your employees. Like, that just doesn't happen. Or your clients, right? It just ruins the relationship. However, when I was first starting out, because I need to give people the context here. When I was first starting out, I didn't have an OnlyFans management agency. It was just me. I was running my SMA, and I was just seeing this girl. So technically I was fucking my client, but like I wasn't, you know, it wasn't like I was just helping her, right? But I was sleeping with this girl, right? This is in Spain, in Tenerife. And just over time, she just, you know, asked me, what do I do? I tried to not bore her and tell her I do SMA, a marketing agency. So I told her I worked at SpaceX and I was like this astronaut and shit. But then eventually, like, obviously I told her what I actually do, and I showed her the results, right? And I showed her like, from one of my law firm clients, I literally spent $4,000 and we made $67,000. So from 4,000 ad spend, 67,000 return, dollar return. And she was like, wow, what the fuck? That's crazy. And I was like, yeah, I could probably help you with what you got going on. And I was just helping her here and there. Like, she would come around, would take some content. I would essentially like give her advice for social media. Obviously, it wouldn't be paid ads or anything like that, but it would just be the more organic side of things. I'd give her like a plan, when to do it, etc. And over time, you know, she just started increasing her earnings and so on and so on. And then that's when I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to invest all this, if you want me to actually, because it was just like what on and off. Like, I wasn't constantly every day calling her because I had shit going on, man. I couldn't be bothered with this. But I was thinking like, okay, well, I helped this girl, go from like 1,000 to like 5,000 in like a month. And bear in mind, I had no fucking idea what I was doing. I was just using my knowledge from SMA.
And you know a man's brain. That's important.
Yeah, simple as that. Actually, funny enough, that's one of the things that I improved for her as well, was the actual chatting part of it. I just simply got her to understand, like, from a guy's point of view, all it is just building that tension, building that like the climax, right? Rather than just your first photo being like everything for $10. The fuck else is he gonna pay? Well, what else is he wants to see? Like he's got it all for $10 there, right? So you have to do it in stages. And I told her about like price anchoring, right? So like, oh, normally this is 200, but for you, I'll do it for 150, even though she would never do it even for 200. Like, so it's all these different things like I taught her. It's very interesting. And that's when I was like, all right, cool. Well, if you want me to actually like focus on helping you every single day and like actually treating this as like a business of mine, I'm going to have to take a percentage. And she was like, all right, how much? I don't remember. I think it was like 30, 40%, because I didn't know what she was going to say. I was worried about saying 50, but in my head, I wanted to say 50. So that was my first client, I guess. And again, by this point, nobody knew. Like some of my boys knew, like, I was speaking to them about it, but I was never on social media saying like, this is what I do. Because I had loads of different like little income streams. This is another problem I had, by the way, when I was younger. This is, if anyone's watching this and you guys are, early into your entrepreneurship, if you're making, put it this way, right? If you're doing a bunch of different shit and you're making like less than 50,000 a month right now, profit this is in your pocket. And you have a bunch of different things going on, like aka like you have this business, you have this income stream, you have this project going on, and they're all different things, right? They're not the same business. I promise you, and this is the most difficult thing ever, but if you just look at out of the 5 things that you got going on, if you look, there's got to be one that does more than all of them, right? There's got to be that one that does more than all of them. If you drop the other 4 fucking wastes of time and you just focus on that one thing, all of a sudden you'll be making 100, 150, 200,000 a month profit. It's as simple as that. And that's a problem I had when I was younger. When I was younger, and this is when I was traveling, I had a bunch of different things. I had like a virtual assistant agency. So I would hire and train virtual assistants from India and Pakistan. And I would then partner them with agencies and I would take a cut. Obviously I had my agency. Within my agency, I had like 10, 15 clients. So they're all different things going on. Then I was helping 2 of my friends start their own agency and equity in there as well, in their agencies. Then I had the coaching business on the side as well. And I now had this OnlyFans thing on the side as well. So I had like 6 different things going on. And it was just stupid because naturally you'd think, okay, well, everybody wants to have multiple streams of income. But when you were just starting out, it's not true. It's so not true. Yes, you can have multiple streams of income once you can make money work for you. But when you're starting out and you can't make money work for you, you have to just focus on one thing and just scale the fuck out of it. And then once you have the capital, you can then pay this person to do that certain thing for you, which then will bring you some more money in rather than you doing it. That's the problem. That's the only problem. Because in our brains, right? Let's just say this is our brain and it's 100% focus. Imagine me and you are competing, right? And we're trying to compete and who can build the best OnlyFans agency or whatever. And I have, like for example, 4 different things going on. So every day, every single day, I'm focused on like 25% of my brain focuses on this one little project. Then 25 is on this. Then 25 and 25. So on my 24 hours, really, I'm only working like 1/4 of what you would do a whole day of 100%. So it's as simple as that. So it's even little things like when you're in the shower and if you have 4 different things going on, you're thinking of 4 different businesses and problems and shit. But if you just have one thing going on, no matter what you do, where you are, what you're doing, it's always just thinking about that one business. How can I do better? Oh, I just remembered I need to call this person. Oh, I need to reply to that. Oh, this project, right? But again, if you have loads of different things going on, you just can't do that. So I quit. I then started partnering with this girl and I started to realize, all right, this is actually not bad. Like this one girl was paying me more than 2 of my clients at one point, combined for my agency. So I was thinking, and it's not like there's no cap to it. Like if I really go all in and help this girl and I help her scale to like 20, 30,000 and I take a cut, all of a sudden I can drop like 10 of my clients for just one girl. And for me, it's like, yeah, it just made so much sense. So I took the risk and I done it. And again, to me, it wasn't even like a risk because in my head, what was going through when I was making that switch from SMA to OFM is like, God forbid if somehow everything fucks up I can always go back to SMA because I know how to do it. I can get a client tomorrow. Like, that's not an issue.
That's a valuable lesson too that people don't consider, is the fact that, you know, when you make that leap, you can technically go back if shit blows up because you have the acquired knowledge. Of course, it's going to be a
Yeah.
shit show, but you have that acquired knowledge. So it's not like you're leaving a life that you can never go back to.
Yeah, simple as that. And I think also people are very like scared to just try something for the first time. But then once you actually do that certain thing and you get over that hurdle of like maybe you're worried about whatever failing or whatever, but then you learn so many things along the way and you look back and you're like, fuck me, I'm so glad I did do that. Because I done that, I can now do this. So if whoever's still listening to this and still watching it, I mean, just look at my story, for example, right? Maybe, who knows, and this is why I got this butterfly tattoo, right? It's called like the butterfly effect. It's like one thing happens, but then that leads on to this thing happening, and then this thing leads to this thing happening without you realizing it. And all of a sudden, you know, you end up with a certain scenario and a certain outcome. It's like in college, if I didn't do media, so if I didn't learn how to do videography, I probably wouldn't have had that conversation with my barber that I'm looking to start a marketing agency and do videography. If my barber wouldn't have offered to do the first video for him, I probably wouldn't have taken it seriously and started doing videos for nightclubs and car dealerships and so on. If I didn't do that, I wouldn't do this and right? But because I just took that risk and I was like, fuck it, let me just do it. I learned so many things along the way. And now I'm at the stage where, like, for example, now I know how to set up this whole video setup, like in my office, right? But if I didn't know how to do it, I have to call somebody, they have to come in and organize it. It's bullshit. But anyway, going back to kind of like the story. Yeah, so that's when I started realizing, all right, like these girls, they're a bit easier to work with. There is not really any risk. It's a lot
100%.
less a headache to an extent. Fuck me, working with some of these models that I've worked with, Jesus Christ, like I wouldn't wish that upon my worst enemy. some of them.
Tell me some horror stories, man.
Well, the worst ones, obviously, that hurt is like when you make a girl a lot of money and she doesn't want to pay you and she just leaves. It's happened to me a few times. Like the biggest one that I've lost was about 20,000, like for me, like £20,000. It was a course of 2 months. So it wasn't like 1 month payment of 20,000. It was the first month she couldn't pay it because of a personal problem in her life came up. I don't know if it was real or not, but I gave her the benefit of doubt. Okay, I understand. Just pay me this month's next month. Sometimes I'm too nice, and that really bites me in the ass, by the way. And the second month she ghosted me, didn't pay as well. And that's also a lesson that I've learned, and we coach in our program. We teach you guys how to avoid that. So how can you set up a payment method where you get the money and then you pay the girl, rather than the girl gets the money and the girl pays you, just for safety reasons. But in terms of horror, there's nothing like crazy other than things like that. It's just more of like just the case that some of them feel really fucking entitled. It's like, yeah, cool, you're very pretty and you have your 100K on Instagram. Well done. But can you just please do the fucking work? Right? It's like, no, but I have this and this and this. Like, fuck, man. And that's another thing that I realized in this industry. Looks help, of course. Like if the girl's a 10 out of 10, it will help her go viral more frequently, just because when people are scrolling, they'll stop on a girl that's super attractive, right?
Yeah.
However, I've made more money with some girls that, in my opinion, are, let's just say it this way, not 10 out of 10s, right? So the looks actually department isn't all that. It's more so the work ethic and their availability. They need to be doing this full time, and they need to be doing it like all in. They can't be having a bunch of different things going on.
Even if it's outsourced to you as management. So I think a bit of context there is important. So they give the ownership to you to some degree, and then from that point, then you take it forward. So what do they do then as a result?
Content.
Oh, so Instagram, Twitter, the funnel shit.
And OF content. So that's where all the money's at, right? So
special requests and all that good stuff. Okay.
Simple as that. Yeah, bro. Yeah. That's where all the money's at. Like subscriptions, you'll make a couple grand here and there, depending on her following. But really and truly, bro, a lot of people, including us, for some of our models, we do. So there's those different ways of making money on OnlyFans. This is also why I'm so like interested in it, because it's new and there's so many ways of doing things, and it's like figuring out what's the best way. But there is no best way. It just depends on the model. But like for some girls, the subscription is free. So you can subscribe for free and see all of her stuff for free. But then in order to message her, you might have to tip, or you can message her for free as well. But then in order to see extra content, like exclusive content, that's where they have to tip and pay. And that's obviously where most of the money's made. But yeah, to wrap up the story, bro, in terms of how I got into it, that was like my first girl. Then she introduced, and this is another thing about this industry as well, is because it's so small. Like, I know people think OnlyFans is huge. It's literally like $1 billion industry. But in terms of like the 1% and below creators, it's not that many that speak English, right?
Yeah, man.
It's not that many, bro. So, and it always changes, but I think right now, if you're making above like $14,000 dollars per month on OF, you're in the 1% and above, or like below. So obviously, the smaller the percentage, the more you're making, right? It's the same as like the saying, like, I'm the top 1% man, because like it's rare, like this guy's making so much money. It's like the same concept, right? So anyway, this girl obviously knew a lot of other influencers and other models. She sent them my way, and that's how I started. And this is also why, and also this is why people are like, oh, but why were you never like public about it when you were starting? I didn't fucking need to. Like, I would literally get girls recommending me their friends to the point where like I couldn't handle as many as I could. And that's when I started learning, all right, well, I need to hire chatters, I need to hire managers, I need to hire this. And that's when I really started taking it as a business. Moved to the UK. So this is when I stopped traveling, moved to the UK, met who's now my business partner, Harry. Harry had been doing this himself as well without me. Like, we didn't know each other, right? By coincidence, we met in Manchester, went to the gym, and we're like, fuck it, bro, should we just do it together? And I was like, I like to have my own thing.
Yeah.
And I was like,
And I heard Imman also saying that as well, like in the SMA space, like you don't need a partner. He said something very interesting before. It was like people who think they need a partner are just lonely, that they just need more friends or something like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's a lot of variables. It comes down to a lot of different things, but
yeah,
a business model, like a service delivery business model, like fucking SMA or OFM, you really don't, because it's so simple. You just need a community. Yeah, you definitely need a community of friends who you can talk to about that. Because if you're the owner, this is again, remember why I started that Facebook group. That's literally why I started the Facebook group, because I needed my own community. I didn't have money back then to buy all these courses, right? That's why I created my own little group. But yeah, you definitely need a community. But business partners, whatever. And I had one bad experience at that point as well, by the way. I tried to run another agency with a friend of mine, and it just didn't work. It was like me mentoring him the whole way, and I was doing everything, and he was taking like half of the business. I was like, this is pointless. Like, I'm literally giving you half of what I can do all by myself. So anyway, I was a bit reluctant to that, but then we started talking about the coaching, right? So we're like, well, nobody's coaching OnlyFans management. What if we do that? I was like, not a bad idea. But again, I'll be honest. I was like, but why should I do it with you? Like, no offense, bro, I can do it by myself. Like, I know how to run a coaching business. I didn't quite say it like that, but that's what I was trying to like get out of him. I was like, so what was it for me? Anyway, long story short, yeah, we came to the conclusion that we should at least try it. We done it, and here we are, still running it, and it's like, it's fucking crazy. So when I said, so in terms of my OnlyFans management agency, like both, so we also like manage girls ourselves together as well. So we didn't keep that. We were going to keep it separate, but like, fuck it. It just makes everything so much easier for filing, accountants, everything. It just makes things so much easier if we do it together. So in terms of like the actual OnlyFans management agency itself, I believe the biggest month was like £70,000, which is still a lot. But bear in mind, again, that took us quite a fucking while to get there. In terms of the coaching for the OF, I believe it was like the first month. The old Stripe account, unfortunately, has got fucking deleted, which is annoying. So I'd love to share my screen with you and show you. But I believe the first month was like £43,000, like the first month ever, that launching it. The second month was like 67,000. The next one was like 97,000, and a month after that was like £113,000.
What the fuck, man? And what the fuck are you coaching them? Like, as in, what are you bringing through them, like from process to operations to like the psychology of it?
Yeah. So how the coaching works is there's two things, right? And we try to kind of cater to, and also, by the way, the reason why I said the numbers out loud is because there's so many people in this industry like just bullshit or they hide things. And to me, like I said, I never had like the older brother or older guy who I could like talk to and ask certain questions and stuff. So that's also why I really appreciated like Tate and Eman, for example. Eman especially, he's very transparent. He doesn't hide anything because who fucking cares? Like, who actually gives a fuck? Right? Like we're literally spinning on a fucking rock in the middle of a universe that we're all gonna die anyway. So like might as well just help each other out. Like that's just my mindset, right? But anyway, in terms of the coaching, how does it work and what we offer? We try to cater to two different price tags, I guess. One of them is just the online course, and also the time of this recording is the 20th of March. These prices are genuinely going to be changed in about a month or so. We're increasing it just because we're re-recording the course. But right now, if you just want to buy the online program, it's just a simple $499. So it's like £380, something like that. So, sure, it's not a small amount of money, but most people that are working a 9 to 5 and they make like 1.6 thousand pound a month, you should be able to, save that in a month or two, right? If you don't go out, you don't spend it on some dumb shit. And that course, by the way, it gives you everything you would need. It has four different sections with a bonus fifth one. So section 1 is the setup. So how do you get started? We literally tell you exactly what you need. Section 2 is model acquisition. So where do you find models? What do you say to them? How do you get them on a Zoom call? And then how do you get them to sign up with you? The third one, which is the most important, is the service delivery. This one is the most extensive. There's like fucking 20 lessons in this one, or if not more. And it goes over everything. Goes over the onboarding, the first meeting, how do you manage your expectations, how do you get access to the account, and obviously the most important ones, which is how do you make them more money, how do you do the marketing, how do you do the chatting, how do you do the pay-per-views, how do you price certain things. So fucking like everything you'd ever need. The fourth part then, the final one, which is my favorite, which is the scaling and automation. So how do you, at this point, you're making about 10, 15K a month. How do you now actually automate and how do you build it as a business, right? Because like I said to you at the beginning of this podcast, I'm at this beautiful stage now where I don't no longer talk to the models. I don't have to deal with anything. I just have a team call and I'm good to go, right? That's it. That's my day done. Like, for example, this is off camera for everybody watching. He was like, so what do you got for the rest of the day? I was like, nothing. I literally have nothing else like I have to do for the rest of the day. And it's literally, and it's only 11:41 in the morning here.
Man, that is fucking wild.
So you want to, well, you don't, I was going to say you don't have to, but it's like Dan Bilzerian says this, right? You want to set up your life like how you want to live it, right? So for a lot of guys, they don't want to live like me. And it's not like I want to live like how I am right now, which is like I do fuck all. I do a lot, but it's just like what I don't like is like having to do something at a certain time. I don't mind doing things. I love working. I love business. Like, as you can see, like I'm very passionate about it. But one thing that I've really it's just me as a personality. And I think this stems from like school, because I hate being told what to do. If somebody tells me to do something, I'll go out of my way to just do everything but that. Like I'll do the opposite. So whenever I have like a set routine or like I have to do this at certain times, like I don't like to follow it. But anyway, that's besides the point. That's just how I have my life set up right now. I kind of forgot where we were going with the conversation. Sorry.
Mainly about the actual operations of like how you run it. So like when you're bringing in girls and you have lots of fucking people under a hood, like when do you bring on like chatters and what even are chatters for some people?
Right. Yeah, so that just reminded me. Thank you, bro. So that was the fourth part. That's why I got onto how I live my life now, where like I don't really have to do certain things because I have systems in place. I basically teach you guys how to do that in the course, right? So exactly like you said, who do you hire? When do you hire them? How much do you pay them? How do you qualify them? How do you onboard them? What contract do you send them? How does the legal side of it work? And just really, how do you actually build it into a business, right? And I was that guy, solopreneur, for too long. I was that guy that thought, I'm not going to spend money because I can do it by myself. I don't need to hire people. I know how to do it by myself. But it's like, bro, stop being a fucking idiot, all right? Like, you just make more money and you pay somebody to do that thing for you. And now all of a sudden you have time freedom. What do you value more? An extra $500 a month or an extra 4 hours in your day? But you can do whatever you want. So we teach you all that, and the fifth part, which is the bonus, is just Q&As. We do 2 Q&As every single week, every Tuesday and Thursday. Just like a group coaching call. You jump on, ask me any question you want, share your screen, I'll answer it. That's my favorite part of this whole thing. I get to really engage with people. That mainly is my business partner, Harry, does that. I'm going to start jumping on him again. I've just been super busy recently. With like the whole move and stuff. But hopefully I'm going to get back into those as well. And that's kind of what we do at the moment. Yeah, in terms of what do they get for the coaching. And I think the reason why it's gone so fucking well, bro, is multiple reasons. Like, one is the fact that we can actually prove and show that we actually know what we're doing. And it's crazy, bro. You know what's the craziest part? And I never really understood it because when I was first starting SMA, and I would follow Eman Gatzi, obviously. Eman was like the pioneer of SMA. Sure, it was Ty Lopez, Sam Ovens, and then it was like Eman. But Eman was the one that really like is the biggest one, right? In my opinion, at least, anyway. In terms of like actual numbers, like statistically, he's made most amount of money, I think, from the coaching. He's got the most followers, blah blah. So and I remember like following Eman all the time on social media and like his YouTube videos, etc. He would always talk about like everybody just copies him. Everyone is just like imitating what he does, etc. And I never really deeped it up until now. Bro, like, it's fucking crazy. At first, I used to get very, like, pissed off with it, but now I just understand that when you're the first to do something and you do it really well, people are just going to naturally copy it. It's just a natural thing. And I used to do it myself, so I can't be mad at them. But it's genuinely to the point where, like, I genuinely don't have competition. I don't want to sound, like, big-headed. But there's only, like, two other guys who are basically doing what me and Harry are doing. And you know what's the craziest part? I have a Zoom recording because we record all of our sales calls, right? It's just a natural thing that we always do for training purposes. I have the Zoom call recorded with both of them. These two guys who are separate, two separate guys, but they're doing their separate businesses. They jumped in a sales call with me. Now must have been like 4 or 5 months ago. And on the sales call, they literally say, yeah, I'm looking to get started into OFM. You know, it seems like a really good business model. And they jump off the call. They didn't sign up. Maybe they were broke or whatever. They didn't sign up. And now they're posting YouTube videos saying how they've been doing it for 2 years and they have all these results. And I'm like, you do know I have the Zoom recording of you saying that you're literally looking to start. And I have the dates and everything. You can't deep fake that. It's not an AI, it's you.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's just like, fucking hell. Like, I get it. Everybody wants to make money. Everybody wants to hustle, right? But it's just like, how do you sleep at night? Surely, and this is the thing as well, by the way, and like we get all of their clients come to us because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They'll jump on a call and somebody will ask them a question and they're like, let me look into it and get back to you. We hear that all the time. Like, people come to us because they literally have no fucking clue what they're doing. Because those guys, they just maybe bought our course, copied it, which one of them literally did, by the way, word for fucking word. He copied the whole thing. I called him out, by the way. Again, I have a Zoom call of me calling him out. I haven't made it public or anything because for me, it's like, I could easily upload it to YouTube and like ruin his whole credibility. But the thing is, bro, why would I spend time and energy and give him a stage and a platform
Facts, man.
when he's nowhere near, like, you know what I mean? I'm only helping him if I'm doing that. So it's like, fuck that guy. I'm just going to do
focus
my
on
thing.
yourself, man, always.
Yeah, I'm on like step 10, 12, 15, and they're on like step 1 and 2, just figuring it out, you know? So
yeah,
I'll leave him to it.
100%, man. Man, what about the regulation in the industry? Like, do you think that OnlyFans can flip a switch and stop third parties management?
Interesting. So I think they already are working towards that by essentially making it mandatory to have a face ID in order to log in every time. So every single time you're gonna reopen OnlyFans, and they want to make it where like you have to, the girl has to have face ID in order to log in. I think they're testing it. I think they're trialing it. I mean, it's already a thing, but you can turn it off, obviously, right? However, I think they want to make it like mandatory, and obviously, what that would mean is no more chatters, no more agencies. However, that is, you know, there's always a way around it, bro. Everything. So I'm not worried at all. Even if they do introduce that, there's always ways around everything, bro. Everything. For example, like when Apple introduced the whole the iOS 13, I think the update about the tracking, right? Look at Hyros. Hyros is Alex Becker's company. Hyros just is basically a solution to that, right? There's always solutions to all these different changes, and nothing ever really changes. It's just a different way of doing it, right? It's all the same shit. Yeah, but it's interesting. Me and Harry speak about this all the time. I wonder, what does OnlyFans themselves, how do they look at our industry as like managers, right? Because from a publicity point of view, from like if they go on a talk show or if they go on like the news or whatever, they would obviously have to say that no, we don't endorse it. This is terrible, blah blah. But at the same time, we're fucking making them a lot of money. Money, it's a
100%.
fucking business at the end of the day. Money talks, right? Imagine if OnlyFans management agencies weren't a thing. Their income would probably, their stock and everything would probably drop quite significantly. Not massively, like not completely, because obviously at the end of the day, it's up to the girls and their guys, the models. They're obviously the ones that are actually making the money. However, like the point I'm trying to make is, us as agencies, we help them scale like massively, like from 5K to 50K kind of massively, right? And that's an extra bit of income for OnlyFans. They take 20%, bro. 20. Do you know how fucking crazy that is, bro? 20. Bro, Stripe takes 2.9%, and that's mind-blowing. Like Stripe, we've honestly, we've probably lost like 100 grand, if not more. Like probably like more than £100,000. And that's 2.9%, bro. These motherfuckers are taking 20%.
Man,
you gotta love it.
But when OnlyFans changed their rules like 2 years ago, when they got rid of like fucking adult content or whatever you want to call it, they reverted that decision because they're like, okay, we're absolutely fucking screwed. So like, have you given any thought to like other platforms like Fansly and all the other ones? Like, because I know it's called OFM, and that's like your industry term, but you'd often see in like social media or like in tech in general, it's the second platform or the third or the fourth or fifth is actually the best platform in the long run, because they look at the inefficiencies of OnlyFans, for instance,
and they get better.
And then go build a better product.
Yeah, kind of like how Vine kind of died, and then TikTok came about, and it was just a better version of Vine. Yeah,
exactly.
No, it's a great question. Look, there's a couple of things, and I'll be honest. Like, I'm not afraid to say this. I couldn't give a fuck about OnlyFans. I couldn't really care too much about this industry. I don't want to be doing this for the next like 3-5 years. It's just super simple for me. I enjoy it right now. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I don't want to do it. It's just, it's not like, so like, here's what I want to do in the future, right? I want to do what Alex Hormozi's doing. I've always been passionate about building things and scaling things, right? And what Alex Hormozi, if you have like a holdings company, acquisition company, and you acquire all these different businesses and you help a business, rather than helping a model go from 5,000 to 50,000, what if you were to help a company go from 5 million to 50 million, and then you exit? So that's where I want to get into in the future, right? And fucking OnlyFans is not going to help me get there. It's just kind of essentially like a business that we're running for at the moment. That's going really, really well. I'm super enjoying it. It's at the peak right now. Like, why would I stop it? But I'm not too pressed about it. If OnlyFans, God forbid, if something happens to it and it goes, like you said yourself, there's Fansly. There's loads of different options out there that we could easily move over to. Granted, only the whole OFM wouldn't make sense because it'd be like Fansly management, FM, I guess. But I'm not too focused on it, bro.
Yeah, of course, man. I think there's always ways and means around it, but you're building so much capital in the meantime that you can go build whatever the fuck you want anyway. So it's irrelevant. You can just get the God status a lot easier and then just go do what you want,
Yeah.
You obviously took a backseat out of it when it got crazy, like really, really crazy. And you started employing chatters. Now, what the fuck happens in those DMs? Because that's where all the money's being made.
Yeah, bro. I don't know. Are you ready? You really want to know what happens in there?
Well, I really want to know what happens in there.
Yeah, it's a whole different world, bro. I remember for the first time when I was, because obviously I'd never seen it, OnlyFans. I had never logged into it up until that girl in Tenerife, and I saw it from her point of view. Fucking crazy, bro. Like the guys, just imagine the wildest shit, just the wildest things that you'd ever just want to see or are curious about, like that. That's what's going on down there. You get everything, bro. You, you get some guys which are just very straight to the point and they tell you what they want, which is great. It saves a lot of time. You get some guys that obviously must have like some sort of issues with girls and they just want to talk to them and like they really like build like a relationship and they really think that like that's their girlfriend. You have some guys which I think are genuinely the worst. Like genuinely, I think this is actually a problem. Guys who are actually married who have a fucking wife and they're doing this behind their back, and they're spending so much money. They're spending so much money. Then we have like old rich guys who will literally spend like the most one of our girl has made was 2,000, like from one guy in one tip. Not just a short little video.
Asking for what?
So don't. I don't know. You probably get demonetized, but it was. Put it this way: it was a video in a kitchen using some kitchen tools and food. Yeah, it was. It's fucking weird. Yeah, it was weird. And I genuinely think I feel like there is that proportion of users are the ones that are like they just have so much money and like what can I get away with? What can I ask this girl to do and that she'll still do it? And I feel like it's like a weird because it's like you get to a point I think right when you have so much money and you've done everything and it's like what else can I like for example this is on such a small little scale but like me and Harry we got so bored the other night and like we just started ordering random, like we were just taking the piss out of each other and we just kept ordering random food to each other, like just the most disgusting things that we could find on like a delivery app. And I feel like that's probably like a small beginning to like what that would probably lead to some bullshit like on OnlyFans, right? Like when money becomes, I'm thinking now how I'm sounding. I sound like such a dickhead. But like you get to a stage where like £500 is like, I don't know. It's like when I was younger, it'd be the same as like spending £2. It's just like, you know, you don't really feel it. It's like, right. So I feel like to these guys, maybe like if they have like 200K, 500K in their bank account, $2,000 is like, oh, fuck it. This girl wants $2,000 to do it. Fuck it. If she actually does it, I'll do it.
And they probably have a lot more, man. They probably have a lot more
exactly.
than 500K in their bank account. You know what I mean? If they exit a company, fucking their salaries, their bonuses, like that's fugazi to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I think, but most of the audience is definitely guys who like probably find it difficult to speak to girls or just have issues. Very introverted people. And I said this, and I think I said it on Matt's podcast. It's like, look, one of the questions I get all the time is like, do you not feel bad or do you not feel like guilty taking money from these guys? Listen, first of all, you have to be 18 and over to use the app. So they're a fucking adult, right? Two, nobody's forcing them to come onto OF. It's actually a bit of a process to fucking sign up. It's not like you just go in it, you press one button and boom. You have to really fucking go through the process. Third of all, when this is kind of the second point, which is nobody's asking them to come on. We don't ever get any of our models, any of our girls to go on social media and ask them to message me on OF. Sure, they'll post like an Instagram story saying I'm live here, but they will never ever message a guy on social media and be like, come talk to me on here. I'm only going to reply here. If anyone's wondering why, by the way, it's because from a side, and I've learned this like the hard way, from a psychological point of view, if a guy gets a DM from that girl on Twitter or Instagram or wherever, he's no longer going to be interested in going on OnlyFans because he knows if he just keeps fucking messaging her on that platform she just messaged him on, she'll eventually reply. So that's why she'll never. So 18 and over, no one's forcing them to go on, no one's asking them to go on. Once they're on the platform, of course, as well, right? It's their fucking choice. Like no one is like forcing them to pay.
No one has a gun to their head.
Yeah, correct.
You know,
correct.
They're at home, they're hiding from their wife. Like they've made all the decisions to this point. They're putting their hand in their pocket. Yeah, it's a nail in the coffin, but they fucking signed up for it now. They literally signed up for it. Like.
And the biggest thing is like, and I said this on Matt's podcast. I think you watched that, right? It's like I said this on Matt's podcast. I was like, me and you, like we'll go out on a night out. Like for example, last night, so funny. Like I spent like probably I don't know a couple £1,000. To me, like you know, I had fun, but fuck me, it was a complete fucking waste of money. But like I'm not like pressed about it, right? Like I spent it and I'm going about my day. Whereas some of these guys, for example, maybe they are maybe they're working as like a computer scientist or IT, or they're like the Discord admins. You know that meme, like Discord moderator,
Yeah.
right? So like imagine that type of guy, right? Who maybe is very antisocial, doesn't really go out, doesn't talk to a lot of girls, but he makes a decent wedge. Like he makes maybe like 7,000, 10,000 a month because he's like a really high IT job. And if he doesn't go out and he spend his money, to him, he might spend $2,000 on a girl in a month on OnlyFans. And it's like, but the return he gets from that is way better than going out and like getting like an anxiety attack or some bullshit, right? Because he spends that money and he gets to talk to a girl and he gets to see her, privately. Maybe he asks like, hey, can you create a certain photo or a certain video? And she does that. Maybe she does a Skype call with him. That's something that, our models do as well. So the point I'm trying to make is these guys, they're going to spend the money. Everybody spends money anyway, somewhere. It's just, where do they spend it? If they're going to fucking spend it on OnlyFans anyway, well, I'll happily fucking help them spend more.
100%, man. And you know what I think is interesting? It's like the more I consume your shit, it's funny, right? When I watch your videos, I started getting all these OnlyFans fucking agencies on YouTube come back to me. I thought it was funny, and some of the other guys like they're just a copycat of what you're doing. But then I started to understand how you bring them in the funnel and how you would like pull them from Instagram onto fucking YouTube, and YouTube to do hauls, and YouTube to bring them into OnlyFans. That if you kind of know about it, you begin to realize that it's fake and it's someone that's like a chatter in the Philippines or whatever that's doing it. So do you think guys know that it's someone else talking to them?
Yeah, 100%, 100%, bro. And
Should
sure,
they
we
get
try
off
to
on that?
kind of. I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe, but I don't think that. I think it's just more of a case of that if a girl has a ton of followers, as long as the guy has like more than fucking 2 chromosomes in his head, I think he can understand that she probably isn't the one messaging him, right? However, why do they still stay and why do they still spend money? Is for the custom content, right? Like, sure, maybe it's not the girl typing, but when she's sending a voice note and she says his name in the voice note, or when she's doing a live Skype call, well, that's you can't do, like, you can't fake that. That's her. So that's where they'll still happily pay and spend money.
Yeah, it makes sense, man. It makes sense. But I guess like the more custom it is, the more they feel like they're actually connected to the type of work. You know what I mean?
Correct. Yeah.
Which is pretty fucking wild to begin with. That they think they can go from like nothing to that. Last kind of bit I want to finish up on is the actual growth of the industry. So as you said, there's kind of it can go anywhere. It could really fucking go anywhere. But at the moment, like, do you see like the OnlyFans adult content and paid subscription content continuously growing?
The industry, yes. If we're talking about just OnlyFans, I couldn't tell you, bro.
Industry.
I don't. Yeah. Oh, industry, 100%, bro. The industry ain't going fucking nowhere, bro. Nowhere.
Yeah.
You got to realize it, bro. Harry said this to me, and I found it funny, but he was being serious. I was like, yeah, fucking hell, you are being serious. The sex industry, porn industry, prostitution, escorting. I know they're obviously completely different, like escorting and porn, right? But like the sex industry, period, bro, that's been about since fucking King Henry the fucking first.
Man, it's the oldest industry in the world. It's the oldest.
Quite literally.
industry. The oldest trade in the book has been sex.
Yeah.
Oldest
Yeah.
trade.
So of course it's not going to go anywhere, right? And that's also why I felt pretty confident in like being public about this industry and like going all in, because I know it's not going to go anywhere. It's only going to get bigger. So yeah, this industry, of course. I think what is going to be very, very fucking interesting in the next like 3 years is the implementation of AI. So how AI is going to come in and affect this industry is really intriguing to me, because it's learning very, very quickly and it's getting better and better. I'm curious to what is it going to do to real models, like real life girls. Yeah. That's the thing that I'm.
In what regard would you think that people are going to start like wanting AI girls?
Well, put it this way, bro. If you can't tell the difference, like you genuinely cannot tell the difference, Why would an agency work with a girl, right? Deep, like, realize this from my point of view, right? If
Yeah.
I'm right now, most of our models are 50-50. So if we make 50 grand, I only make 25. So does a girl, right? If I have an AI girl who looks real, who can work whenever, however long, she can create 1 million pictures a day, not like 100,
Oh my
like our
god,
models.
man.
And bro, she can talk 24/7, and I take 100% of her earnings. You get what I'm trying to say now, right? So,
100%.
so
How does it work through Instagram and shit though? Would it just be fucking one platform? That's wild.
well, it's already a thing, bro. It's already a thing. If you look
Yeah.
into it, there's already like 3 really big influencers, but like they're different. Like they're not when I say influencers, they're all AI. Like they don't exist. They're not real people. But like it's like a different art theme. It's like you can tell it's AI. It's like a video game looking character. However, AI is getting better and better to the point where like it literally looks like just a normal real life girl. And I was saying this in one of my YouTube videos about AI. Because people are like, because here's the biggest thing that I get back whenever I say that. People are like, yeah, but AI can create a photo, but it will never replace models because the AI will never be able to create like a video or like a call with them, etc. I'm like, that's cute. Well, you do realize that a video is just a set series of images, very, very fast put together. And when you flick through the images very, very, very fast, it looks like it's moving, which creates a video. So if it can create an image already, and then you can create another image which is very similar but just changed ever so slightly, and another one, and another one, and another one, and then the AI can stitch all these images together and play it really fast so it looks like a video. Surprisingly enough, it can create video. It just right now it's a little bit buggy, right? So like it can create like
Yeah.
a photo and a video, but it's just like the background will be a bit distorted, or she'll have like 6 fingers or some shit. But yeah,
But
yeah,
there's a kink of that. Like maybe people want
sure,
like it's like anime, It's like
yeah,
anime,
yeah.
but it's personalized anime. And man, there's AI tools that do like onboarding trainings, man, that like sound perfect.
I've seen
They
them.
like
Yeah, yeah,
they like understand your business model. You probably feed them some shit, but you do the exact same, and
yeah.
it's responsive. That's fucking
Yeah.
wild.
So I think that's the thing that I'm pretty interested in. Um, one idea I did have, I don't know if we're going to pursue it or not because seems like a pretty big project, but we could, is essentially create like a competitor to OnlyFans. Um, the reason why we're in a pretty good stage, not only do we have a fuck ton of knowledge, obviously, decent capital, the biggest thing is the audience, right? Like we have the biggest OF audience ever in period in industry. We have about 20,000 people. And just so you know, statistically, I believe when OnlyFans launched in 2017, the first month they had like 150 creators. I'd actually done a podcast with one of them, one of the first ever people on OnlyFans. I'm going to release that soon. It's not out on my YouTube yet. But anyway, like 150 creators on their first day. So deep this, bro. We have 20,000 members who are guys, by the way, who run an agency. Let's just say they all have on average 10 girls each. They don't, by the way. They don't. Like, they really don't. But let's just say they did. Imagine if we launched our own platform and on launch day, we said, cool, all of you guys, because you're a part of our community, if you join today and move all your models from OnlyFans onto our platform, we'll give you like a wave. Like we won't take 20%, we'll maybe take like 10, for example. Right.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it increases their profit margin. We fucking skyrocket. So that's one business model. It's just the only thing is I need to learn a lot about SaaS and software. I'm building platforms. I don't know much about it at all. So, but it's exciting. It's a new thing for me to look into. Yeah. In terms of kind of the future, that's kind of what I'm looking forward to.
That's cool, man. That's cool. And yeah, like I come from a software background, man. So like all you need there is just infrastructure. You just need to be able to support the platform, customer support, and things don't fuck up. Have enough bandwidth so you can process 200,000 transactions a minute, and then you're all good. You know what I mean?
No, we're good
Of
to
course, it's
go.
gonna be buggy as fuck, but man, I wouldn't put that outside the realm because I do see a lot of those guys that will, make your cash cow, which is your business, your coaching, and everything, and then use the platform, get a CTO, get him to do the whole thing. Get a designer so it doesn't look like shit. Get a CTO, and then benchmark off OnlyFans and build, as we said, the second or
Yeah.
third platform with the best in the long run. So,
I'll,
man, I
I'll
want to
gain.
say,
I'll get in
Go
contact
ahead.
with you then. I'll get in contact
Of
with
course.
you when I'm ready to build
Of
it.
course, man. I'm happy to share what I fucking learned over the last 4 years of trying to build shit continuously. You know what I mean? But man, I
Yeah,
want to say a
good.
massive thank you, man. You're a fucking. I
Thank
really
you for having me.
appreciate everything, man. I really appreciate it, though, man. If there's anything I can do for you, man, I always want to extend extend a bit of help because you've been doing a great job, man. And I think even anything to do outside it, like what you can help younger people, is hugely inspiring even to me and to many
Mhm.
others, man.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That's all I'm here for. I really do want to inspire a lot of people because, and I've said this so many fucking times since I've been here. Statistically, I'm not meant to be here. I'm not meant to be doing what I'm doing. Statistically, I have no degrees. I have no qualifications. I've been fired so many jobs. I'm a dropout from college. I don't come from money. I have a single mother. Uh, Statistically, I shouldn't be where I'm at.
Mm.
And I'm not a fucking unicorn. I'm nothing special. Like, look at me. Yeah, I'm nothing special, bro. Maybe I look it now. Like, I know people are like, oh my God, you live this life now. But like, bro, I fucking started when I was like, yeah, like 17, 18, and I'm 24 right now, right? So it's just a long time coming. So all of those lessons that I've learned along the way, I'd love to share them with you and everybody watching. So yeah, thank you for giving me the platform to do so. I appreciate it.
Of course, man. Of course. Really appreciate it.